Well, Kolchak was assigned to cover the swinger scene, which I think got kind of confused with just a dating scene. Yeah. And, well, it's the 70s, but they still had this idea that computer programs or something of that nature could set you up with the perfect mate and help you find somebody and all that sort of stuff. So he looks into it and stumbles upon this club that will match you up with someone perfect. But, of course, you have to be perfect to begin with. So, and you have to be under 30 and all this sort of stuff. So they're looking for young people that are in great shape and all this sort of stuff to match up with other people that are in great shape and they got their shizness going on, and all that sort of thing. Meanwhile, there's all these old people turning up dead. Yeah. Well, we already know what the deal is. This evil woman, played by Kathy Lee Crosby, who was the first Wonder Woman, unless you count that test sort of short film pilot type thing that the makers of the Batman show were going to do for a Wonder Woman show. But that's another story. Kathy Lee Crosby did the TV movie Wonder Woman. Of course, she looked nothing like Wonder Woman. Later on, they went with Linda Carter in the show, and the rest is history. But nevertheless, she was one of these pretty girls at the time, and she played, supposedly, Helen of Troy. But what was her secret to immortality? Well, you find out. Basically, she steals the youth of others. So you've got these healthy people who come in to her club, her company, that'll set you up with your perfect mate. And you don't want to deal with the riffraff and all of that. So you've got the cash and you've got the looks and everything, and you're great. So how does she do it? Well, obviously some sort of magic or whatnot. But she does it because she's a servant or worshiper of Hecate. And so she sacrificed someone who's really great, in good shape, or beautiful, and all this sort of thing. And so she does that with these people who are unwitting, but by joining her club, you get a special ring and that sort of thing. Now you're in for it. And then one example was a guy who was jogging. He gets older as he goes and then collapses. And Kathy, well, boy, she starts looking a little old, but once this ritual goes through, she's back to her youthful, beautiful self. And, she's got a good little scam going, so Carl, of course, he just has, an instinct or knows for something supernatural when he's supposed to be doing a write-up on these, the dating scene and all that sort of stuff. So he sticks his nose in it, and, of course, he stumbles upon, hey, there's something not right. Plus, the simple fact that there's all these elderly corpses laying around, and nobody knows who they are. Because they're not going to figure out it's these younger people because, 5 minutes before they were dead, they weren't even 30 yet. Now they look like they're in their 90s. So what the hell? So, it's a tough one. The interesting thing here is he finally runs into a police lieutenant that's in charge of these cases, who eventually, or initially rather, is, rather nice to him and says, I think I need the attitude of being more open and engaging with the press. And so Carl's rather taken aback by this. So it's interesting, but he doesn't know Carl at all. He finds out, and then he ends up like all the other policemen and can't stand him. And because Carl's trying to convince him of this, so eventually one of the victims, Carl's looking into it. And, of course, nobody else finds this, but he did. He finds the guy's ring, gets it stuck on his own finger. Oh, boy. But don't worry, for reasons that become clear, he's actually quite safe. But nevertheless, in one of the scenes, he's investigating what someone who's, there's these young people turned up missing. He's looking into that and connecting it with the victims, and he discovers this one particular guy had a glass eye. His spare glass eye was in his home, and he finds this. He says, "Well, this guy who died had a glass eye, And yet he traces it to this young man who's, where is he? Well, he's dead, But this becomes the clincher when he finally confronts, Helen here, Kathleen Crosby, in her little temple that she has in her back room. Now, he talks to this guy who's Greek, and Greek mythology and stuff, and he suggests, well, you would have to destroy her temple to Hecate and all that. So he does, but of course Kathleen Crosby says, yeah, you just made a mess for no good reason. So now, Hecate's going to be irritated at you for destroying her sacred place. And he's like, well, what about you? You sacrificed an unworthy offering. He's like, what are you talking about? Oh, that guy, you took his youth and sacrificed him to Hecate. But he wasn't perfect. He was missing an eye. He had a glass eye. Said, you're lying. No, he's not. And, that's it for Kathleen Crosby. Did she wither up like an old prune and blow away in the wind? No, she turned into a statue, which, she'll stay beautiful forever now. But anyway, that's what happens when you piss off Hecate. And she did. Now, look, the rules. I mean, come on. She didn't know. She thought this guy was, great and stuff. He was young, he was handsome, and all that. And that should have been enough. But Hecate don't care. You violate any of the rules. And basically, Hecate, I suppose, said, well, you should have checked. Did it ever occur to you to give all these, candidates or what have you, an eye exam? Because again, what if he just, he just didn't have 20/20 vision or something like that? And he's not perfect, But I guess he was good elsewhere. She figured, well, look at him, he's in shape and all that. Good enough. And I mean, how many of them might have lied about their age? Some people look younger than they do. They're just blessed with genes and whatnot. But they had to be under 30. So, what if it was somebody who was 31 or 32, Boy, she was taking an awful risk. So, part of the membership requirements, she probably should have had all kind of rigorous tests and stuff, and saying, we want our clients to have the best, that kind of thing. And, I don't know, give them eye exams, Well, she didn't. She went for the superficial, and that's kind of what everyone was doing, Because Carl came into it, and he was like acting like he was going to fill out an application and stuff to look into it. And they said, look, this is only for people under 30. And he's like, I'm a writer and all, that sort of thing. So, that was the situation. And all it came down to was a glass eye. And now she's a statue. But, again, she won't get old unless someone breaks the statue or something, messes that up, or bird shits on it. That can happen. But other than that, she's young and beautiful forever. Well, until, wind shear and all the other things, like even stone doesn't last forever. But a lot longer than most, Yeah.